live? All right, I think we're golden here.
Are we live? I can't see you though. Oh, I have to click the thing, right?
We are live and in action.
Or I got to do the link. Is that what I got to do? I got to click on the link? Ooh, it's on the actual channel, right? I got this. Your channel. Bam, live. I'm clicking it. Episode 2. You even named it Episode 2. Look at that.
It's fantastic. It's truly an
I see
innovation
us.
of technology.
And we got that delay again, so let me see.
The delay is always going to be there.
I'll put hi. We'll see how it pops up, see what it looks like. All right, so I guess you want to start with that icebreaker?
Sure. What's the icebreaker?
All right, we'll keep it simple. So again, we're in an island, and what was the rule? We established there's a rule. You're there for at least a year. You have all your basic needs met. Um, and we're gonna go with
Did we define the basic needs, by the way? Are these like the hierarchy of needs where it's like
basically like you have food, like you have bread and water, like you have enough to sustain life.
okay, but not enough to like recreate life, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, you don't have like another female there or something. Yeah,
Okay,
there's
okay.
nothing. Yes. So for this one though, did I do this last time? Did I watch the YouTube video?
What
Is
YouTube
that how I did
video?
this? That's what I
Oh
did last
yeah.
time?
Do you want the link? Is that what you're
Or
looking
did you
for?
do something? Yeah, I thought you did something last time.
I think you were just in like the actual YouTube account, and then you went to YouTube
That's what I'm doing
Studio.
right now.
Yeah,
But I didn't know if there was a link or something.
there's always a link, James. There's always a link.
There's a lot of links nowadays, man.
Well, you know what they say. It's just a link to the past.
Ooh, that was a good joke.
Ooh.
Oh, so I ordered so GameStop had a special recently where they had the Link's Awakening, so the one that's for Switch. And I've seen it in Reddit, and every time I click on it, it's always not available. But it's basically Link's Awakening pre or used or whatever
Mm-hmm.
for like 21 bucks. Great deal. Because normally it's like 40 bucks on sale, 60 bucks for full. It's a great. Have you ever played that game?
No, I haven't.
All
The
right.
only like Legend of Zelda games I've played are Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild. That's it.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a fantastic game. I have breath. Yeah, I'm not. But it's an old classic like the old school Zelda. I mean, I think it's an old game already, and then they just remade it, like made it look nicer. I've already beaten it a long time ago, but $22, I could not say no to it. And then I had
Okay.
my $5 coupon because I'm a rewards pro. So basically, it was like 25 bucks for it. So I'm like, okay, sign me up. Let's do it. And I was gonna get it for Madison, my younger kid, and have her play it and see if she'll. Because I think it's like a perfect like 9-year-old game. I think it'd be a good. I think she'd like it.
Right.
And so I get it. It takes like about 3 days shipping. Fantastic. Kudos to GameStop. They're going places. But they do this, and this is the second time that they've done this in the last year. But instead of me getting Link's Awakening, I get Super Smash Brothers.
Oh my god.
And the interesting thing is Super Smash Brothers, one, it's not the game I want, and two, it's a more expensive game. Like it rarely goes on, and I already own it, so I can't really do anything with it. So basically, yeah, I love that $5 coupon, by the way. So basically, now I'm going to call, and they're going to probably do exactly what they did last time, which is they're going to say, hey, just keep the game, and we're going to ship you. Because they did this before. I forget, it was a 3DS game I bought. I think it was like Dragon's Quest or something a while back. One of the 6 or 7. And then they sent me Kirby's Yarn something. I know, it is
Oh
amazing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we were like, oh, whatever. I called, that was a couple of years ago, and that was fine. And they're super nice. I had one delivery where I ordered like 3 things, probably 80 bucks worth of stuff, and it shipped to my old apartment. And I called them, and they're like, yo, it's your first time, we're good to go. And then they reshipped it all to me, like 60, 80 bucks worth of stuff. Which, interesting enough, I think Super Smash Brothers was part of that shipment. Yeah, because it was a Christmas present. So, bottom line, I got a call, and I just feel bad because I just feel bad. But it's like one person's sole job is just to slip that little, and I didn't get the cart, I didn't get the case either. I just got they just slipped the little thing into the
Oh, like
envelope,
one of those little
and that's
like
it.
it has like the plastic cover on it,
Yeah,
but
the
it's
little
really
cheap
just an
little plastic
envelope.
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Not a huge fan of it. Not a fan of it, but ultimately now I'm gonna have either two smash. I don't know what to do with two super smash. I was thinking maybe I'd do like a contest or something at work or something, but
I mean, it's not a
or
bad
maybe
idea.
Or I give it to the other kid, and then the kid can play at the other house, and then I can play here. But nobody likes Super Smash Brothers. That's the problem. Like, it's a good game, but nobody in this house. We don't. I don't know.
Well,
It's
this
weird.
is when you become a competitive Super Smash Brothers family, right? Where you guys go to tournaments and you and you compete and do the whole 9 yards.
Problem is, we're just mashing. Like literally, when we were playing, we're just mashing the whole. And I know that's how you're supposed to do it, right? You're supposed to.
Well, it is called
There's-
Super Smash. So
It's not mash.
It's got mash in it. I mean,
It's smash.
you know.
It's not mash.
You're telling me
waiting
you
for
never
your
get
delay.
you never
I'm waiting for the delay
mash
up
them
here.
potatoes. You don't smash those potatoes. It's the same.
Yeah, there's no smashed potato. That's weird. Like, that sounds awful. Yeah,
The
smashed
smashed
potato.
potatoes are delicious.
That
first of
sounds
all.
dirty.
It's amazing. So
I feel like
all
I
right.
need to wear something special when I. Oh yeah. So the question. Okay.
Yeah,
back
yeah.
to
What's
the
the
question.
question? Yeah, yeah. 5 minute
we're gonna go-
preamble for the icebreaker question here. What's up?
We're gonna go clean and we're gonna go simple. And oh, I got the smash part. That's funny. All right. So we're gonna just do cereal. You get one cereal box that basically it's a magical box that every day it just replenishes. So every morning you wake up, it's fresh, brand new. It's not old. It's not crispy. Cereal. Go. And all your needs are met, right? So you're not picking like a healthy cereal because you're trying to get fruits and veggies and stuff.
Sure, sure. So I can pick
It's
any
more of a
cereal.
pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Okay, easy, easy. Frosted mini wheats, just the absolute best. Frosted mini wheats.
You gotta
Just
be
standard.
kidding. That
No,
is the
absolutely
whitest
not.
response ever.
I said what?
That are you serious?
Yeah, 100%,
I've
dude.
to be honest, I've never even had those, so I have no idea.
Oh man, so I joke you
What do they
not
taste
for
like?
like absolute ecstasy. Ecstasy. It's fantastic. So
No, it can't be.
no, it's fantastic. So here's the best part, right? Is
I like
for
Frosted Flakes, though.
Christmas,
We'll go
I
with Nori.
think, like 2 or 3 years ago, they discontinued the chocolate. They were like it was like chocolate wheat, and then like the frosted part was still like the vanilla frosting, right, or whatever it's called. And
Okay.
so it went out. They just stopped making it. And
Chocolate wheat. That just sounds weird.
chocolate
Yeah, keep
mini
going.
wheats. So Nori's little sister tracked down a box and then bought it for me, right? And I thought, me being the weirdo that I am, because I love collecting things, I was like, cool, I'm gonna keep
I mean,
this
clearly,
forever.
you said frosted mini wheats. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep this forever. I'm not gonna eat it. I'm gonna let it sit on my shelf, and I'm gonna let it collect its value, right? Because that's what you do with food. Is you stick it on the
Well, that's
shelf
our
and you
house.
never eat it, right?
That is our pantry. Yeah.
Yeah, and she found out recently, and she got really mad. She was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you just eat it? What? And I was like, no, it's fantastic. It's a collector's item. So,
Wait. So what does it taste like? If you had to describe the taste to somebody who's never had it before,
oh man,
they're tasteless. They
I-
can't taste anything, but you're trying to describe the taste,
imagine
which wouldn't
like
make any sense.
imagine like a really thick frosted flake.
Like a thick one.
Yeah, like a really really thick frosted flake.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Dude, it's
It doesn't
so,
look like that though.
It's almost exactly what it is, to be honest with you. It's
just
got like
the
a
texture
texture
looks
to it.
awful.
Yeah, it's got texture to it.
That
But
might
it-
be the problem. I'm a texture guy. Like sushi, I can't do sushi. I think, and shrimp, it's just the texture.
You
I
should
think the texture is what would get me.
Here, next time you're in the office, text me in the morning. I'll
You're gonna bring one
buy a
frosted-
little,
just bring
I'll buy a whole box of mini wheats. We'll keep it at the office, right?
No, just
and-
bring one. I want one mini wheat.
You
Like a
want
little
one
Ziploc
mini wheat?
bag.
No, that's a waste of time. I'm gonna stop by the store on the way to work. I'll buy a little glass of milk for you.
Wait, is it one of those things you can do without milk, or do you have to have milk?
It's better with milk because like
Okay.
for me the best part of the frosted mini wheat is when like it's in the milk for a little bit, right? Like maybe a minute, and it gets like it absorbs a little bit of the milk. It's not soggy, but it's wet, with the milk, and then like the
what she
frosting starts to exactly, and then like the frosting develops like a slight little film on the milk. You know what I'm talking about? Where it like blends
That's
in a
what she
little
said.
bit.
So,
And,
no, I have no idea
yeah,
what you're talking about. But
Okay, well I'll have to bring it in. It's fantastic.
yeah, I can't wait to see the film of milk.
Oh
All right,
yeah,
well-
yeah, it's fantastic. What about
Well,
you?
I'm down. I'm down to try it one day.
What's your cereal?
I'm between two. And this is hard because our family does like our sugar cereal. But our go-tos, and my go-to would be Lucky Charms or Cinnamon Toast Crunch. The problem is we did not say or specify whether we have milk.
That is
Um,
true. That is true.
And there's no cows on this island. Okay, there ain't no cows. Okay, no
Well, I would
goats,
say
no-
let's assume that it comes with the milk, but only if you're having the cereal. Like it spontaneously comes.
It replenishes. There's a magical bowl that we
When
can
you
use
yeah,
just for
yeah,
the
but
cereal.
when it sees the cereal,
Ooh,
it automatically
I don't know if
fills
that
with
made it
milk.
easier. I don't know if that made it easier now. Okay, I'm gonna go with cinnamon toast crunch.
All right, that's not a bad one. That's
I
not a
feel like
bad
let it
one.
soggy, let it soggy just like you like, just a little, but a little bit
Just a
more
little bit, just a
sogginess.
little bit, you
I
know.
want it a little bit more moist. And then once the sogginess and that film envelops with the cinnamon around the bowl, then I can smash it down. Yeah.
Smash it down. That's right.
Did I use that right in the right context?
I think you could have said mash as well, and it would have gotten the
I
point
think
across
mashing,
just fine.
that's the right term. Yeah. I
so,
used the wrong. Dude, if we had 10 listeners right now, they'd be cracking up.
oh, dude, it's honestly a shame that we have 10,000 people watching because we have just caused potentially a public outcry. If that was in a condensed area, the police would think there's a riot with how much laughter is going on. I mean, the entertainment value alone
I'm glad
skyrocket.
I boarded up the windows, so we're good here.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've shotgun ready. You know what I'm saying? So, all the rioters. Anyway, um,
All right.
so first talk. I mean, do you want? A lot of things have happened. We had Sons of the Forest release. We got some exciting news about an Elden Ring DLC. It sounds like you've had a little bit of a busy week as well when it comes to gaming. Like, what's on your mind right now?
Yeah, it's been an interesting week. I mean, I was sick for a few nights, so there were actually 2 nights where I went to sleep before 10 last week. So I didn't
Jeez.
get as much gaming. That's rare for me. I didn't get as much gaming as I had wanted. But I did get I got my 2 GameFly discs last week, and I got Dead Space on Wednesday, Thursday, and then I got Ragnarok on Friday. So I haven't played it yet. I'm also gonna talk about VR for a little bit, and I might wait a little bit for Ragnarok, um, but I got Dead Space. I've played the original. It's freaking fantastic. I'm about like 6 hours in. It's like a 12-hour game, so I'll probably have it beat in the next couple days. But it's absolutely fantastic. I love it. The graphics are great. The gameplay is great. I mean, it's the same as what I remember it way back in the day playing it and beating it way back in the day. It's just nicer. It's fresher. I think it's 60 frames. It definitely looks 60 frames. Um, and I am loving it. Have you ever played it?
No, I
That's
haven't.
good.
I haven't. I actually
Oh,
haven't played any of the God of War.
is it on is it on Steam? I don't think it is.
I have no idea. I can check.
It's definitely worth. I mean, I don't know about full price, but I'd assume because it's a remake, it's eventually going to go on sale. But 30, $40, it's definitely worth. It's an experience. I mean, it's like Resident Evil, but in space.
So we have
I mean,
God of War on there, which is like I think the first of them going in the Nordic region, but
oh,
they do not have Ragnarok. I mean, there's a game called Ragnarok, just
yeah, that's the fake.
Ragnarok.
Yeah, it's not the real stuff.
Yeah,
Now that
yeah.
one I'm excited about, but supposedly with the VR2, the PSVR2, you can play 120 frames with Ragnarok on it. So
Is
it's
your
got me very
is your
curious.
wife watching the podcast?
She is not currently, but yeah, I don't mind addressing this issue with the PSVR.
I did drop a hint because someone's birthday's coming up that you know somebody doesn't want a new pair of shoes, they want a PSVR too.
Well, I
and
told her too. I did tell her too, so I appreciate it.
and she said, and I quote, because he put so many hours into the first one that he sold it. So I tried my best. I just don't know if
We
that's
have good,
actually gonna happen.
well, to be fair, we have good quality recorded content from me playing the PSVR. Playing a
That is
soccer game.
valid.
It's me doing this
Oh
the
man,
whole time,
it's so
missing
good.
the
It's
ball.
causing your background to just make you go into the Matrix.
There's a ghost back there. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, the PSVR I didn't really play, and this is my issue with the PSVR too. I'm just concerned about. I spent a lot of time researching it over the last week, like watching a bunch of YouTube videos. But my biggest concern is it having the same effect that it did on PSVR, which is like this weird grainy. It just has
Yeah,
like
I
a
know what you're
weird.
talking about. It's
It's
almost
like
like a film effect, which is weird.
yeah, and I don't know. It's just something to it. But honestly, I don't even really want. What I really want about the PSVR the most is the cinematic view,
What's the
which like
cinematic
nobody.
view?
Yeah, so like basically they had it with PSVR 1 too, where basically you're in a room and you can watch your screen on like a movie theater. and you can
Oh,
change the
okay.
size of the screen. It can be like a 60-foot screen, it can be 120, it can be 200 feet, and you change the side of the screen. So when you look left and right, it's just black. But when you look at the screen, it's just a flat, giant, basically screen that you can play whatever's on your PlayStation. You basically see on there. So you could watch YouTube videos, you could watch Netflix or Hulu or whatever, or you could play your games on there. Um, and I've been trying to research it. It's like everybody's asking about it, but nobody's really talking about it. And the people that do basically say it's equal to like a 1080, which to be fair, I don't mind because I don't
That's
have no
that's
fancy
plenty.
OLED. Yeah, I don't have no OLED. I don't got nothing. And it runs 60 frames. Um, so it's like I would it's like my days of having a projector, which was incredible. Like playing games on a projector is amazing. And ain't no wife gonna let you have a projector. So that the PSVR is basically the way to go with it. So, and it has the pass through so that if the baby's crying or something, I can just click a button, check the camera, see if everything's okay, and then click the button
Oh,
again.
that's really cool.
Right, which again, the first one didn't have. I'd have to take it all off and look, and I couldn't hear it or anything. So I'm, like I said, if somebody gets a raise in this household in the next month, which sounds about like something's gonna happen here, um, I'm probably gonna do it just because I sold that. I sold the Xbox. Um, and so I have a little bit of extra cash. Plus, I have the birthday. I'm thinking if my mom gives me something, or if we get a raise, I'm probably gonna get it for sure.
So your kids are working? Is that who's getting the raise or?
The kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's
So
all those YouTube, the TikToks they're
that's
making.
right. That's right. The
It's
TikToks, it's blowing up.
it's
They've got the
finally
creator
paying.
fund and they're really getting their share.
Finally paying out.
So I mean, you bring up a cool point about VR because I have the Quest 2. That's my VR set, and I'm like mixed feelings on it. Like the games that it runs well, it runs really well, right? But like, it doesn't run certain like Steam games. Like it this is before. I don't know if Blade and Sorcery is on there now, but when I bought it, Blade and Sorcery wasn't on the Quest.
What kind of
So
game is that? Like a
it's like the
Skyrim?
sword fighting game where you have like magic and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And it's like arena combat. So like you load in and it's like gladiator kind of thing, right? But it's really cool because it has a Star Wars mod. I'm a big Star Wars nerd, so I was like, cool. I want to like have a lightsaber and do force powers. I want to force choke, force lightning, do all the crazy stuff, but in VR, right? It's like everybody's dream, right?
Yeah.
So I bought it and I did all that, but like it wouldn't run that well. It would run below 30 frames, which made me really motion sick because I had to
Yeah.
like run it through Steam on my computer, and then it's got that latency because it's wirelessly connecting to my computer from either across the house. Even when I stood next to it, right? Like it's still it's wireless, so it's gonna have a little bit of a lag. Um, but I really liked it for like VR chat, for example.
I've heard good things about it. Yeah.
So if the PSVR 2 has that, which I'm assuming it does, I can't imagine it
I'm
wouldn't.
assuming it will. I can't imagine that they don't do like a PSVR home or something like they had back in the day. They didn't have it on the first one. They do have a game called Rec Room. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
ever heard of it.
yeah, I
It's
have.
kind of like
Yeah,
Robot. We tried it with the kids. It's pretty. It's. I didn't try it VR. We just played normal, but it's pretty freaking cool.
Rec
It's
Room
just
reminds
it's
me of like the Wii Sports
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
VR.
like Wii Sports,
Yeah,
but on PS, and it looks better. That's all. It's a
mm,
PlayStation version of Wii Sports. Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
But
Yeah.
you can do other stuff, and you can talk, and it's chat, and all that kind of fun stuff too.
So,
Um,
but it's funny that you bring up like the whole like cinematic mode, right? Where it's got like the TV and all that stuff because I know like in VR chat, there's a lot of people now making mods and like doing all these things where their whole goal is to create like an ambient setting, right? And they'll create like a theme. Like I saw like 90s themes where it's like, kind of like a 90s like kind of like a sketch with like the colors and the whatever. And I've seen like more like dark gradient themes where it's like a lot of dark blues and it's raining outside or whatever, like really cool ambiance. And then you go and you plug in whatever game console you want to play. So it'll be like a PlayStation 1,
that's kind of
GameCube,
cool,
whatever.
like VR wise.
Yeah, and then you're just sitting there in this ambient setting holding this controller for this thing in this setting, and then you're playing on a TV that doesn't.
Like it's emulating.
Yeah, and it's really cool. I want
I
to see
love it.
more of that kind of stuff, like more environment curation, which I think is
That's
what.
what Meta has. In the commercial has it where they're
Yeah,
like watching a movie, right? And then you have your friends and family basically watching the movie with you at the same time, which is a cool. I mean, Netflix have. I've never tried it. Like the the stream or you're watching it all at the same time. I just don't have enough friends to do it, but it sounds freaking. I could definitely back in the day, I could see that
Yeah.
doing that with friends for sure.
I think it's meant more for like the younger audience, which is where I think
Yeah,
Meta. I don't know if we can classify Meta as a failure yet. I would definitely say they have not succeeded.
just an
And
expensive process so far. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, but I mean, their vision is flawed, and there's a lot that goes into it. But I think the key piece that they're missing there is like the adult population would rather just like sit down on their couch with their family, right, and then watch a movie, versus like the younger population is they're gonna do that more, right? They're gonna be like, cool,
yeah.
let's watch the new Avatar, which I saw by the way. Uh,
Oh,
not
in
great.
theater, right?
Yeah, it was not great. I snuck I was at the Total Wine, like the liquor store, and
Okay.
when I found out we were going, so I just bought a bunch of those little like handheld, like little mini shots of like
Little baby
Jim
bottles.
Beam,
Yeah, yeah.
and I snuggled them in, and then we just got blasted in the movie theater, which did not help the movie experience. It was
That's
just,
hilarious. That's a long movie to blast through.
yeah, we sobered up about halfway through because we ran out of
Well,
alcohol.
what's cool is like if you go at certain times, you literally can have a theater. I don't know how it is where you are,
Mm-hmm.
but over here, it's literally like you can have your own movie theater. We've seen two movies, I'd say, in the past 6 months with my kids, just me and the kids, and one of them was completely empty except for us, and then another one, it was one other family.
See, ours was slightly populated. Yeah, we were in a really small theater, so it's like there were like 6 rows in it, so it wasn't gonna be
Oh,
that many people anyway. There were like 4 families in there. Um, we also went at like 7 o'clock, but it was on a weekday, so it was like
okay, yeah, that doesn't help.
yeah. But
That'd be kind of interesting. Go at 11 o'clock show and you bring a bunch of drinks and it's just like you're the only person and you're just getting hammered and fucking like going or sorry,
I think it
you're
would be
going up and down the stairs like
I
that'd be
think it'd be
hilarious.
awesome. Don't get me wrong. There was I remember in high school specifically, and in middle school, I would like do the whole movie hopping thing, and we would do those during the summer because they would only have kids working in the summer, and kids don't care. Kids don't care
Yeah,
about
kids
other
don't care.
kids. You know what I mean? So I remember doing that, and we had like I saw like really bad horror films just in the middle of the day, and we would just like get free refills and popcorn because they used to do that. It was good. It was good.
So I definitely want to get back to VR, but have you seen Megan yet?
No, I haven't. No.
So I watched Megan with the kids on Saturday, and it's with my 9-year-old and 12-year-old. So Dad of the Year here. And to be fair, it's not actually bad. It was just funny. We were literally laughing like probably out loud, like really like probably 7, 8 times in the first hour. Like it was just so funny. But then there's like at the end it just gets because like it's basically it's Chucky, basically until you get near the end, and then it just gets just blood and it just like literally my daughter's eyes are like and then she's smiling afterwards. So
Takes
but
after
yeah,
a dad.
it was a good family flick though for sure. Like
Good
definitely
family.
older kids, but it was good. It was actually hilarious.
That's
But
good.
yeah, I don't know about 6-year-old. I would say 6-year-old is too young. Unless they're like super mature, but like it's just that bloody part. Like there's just one or two parts that are just like blood just splatter, and I don't think it's normal. Everything else is just freaking hilarious.
Have you tying it into
Well,
video games? Have you watched the Last of Us show? Have you gotten into any of that?
well, what's funny is honestly I haven't in the past. I haven't watched it since the Super Bowl because the Super Bowl threw me off, and it threw me off my routine of watching it every Sunday because they showed it earlier on that Friday, and then the next weekend after that was the NBA All-Star weekend, so I watched that, and then I got thrown off. So I haven't seen the last 3 episodes, I think, or at least two, but I loved it. It's a great show. I'm super
Yeah.
happy that every people are watching it.
So it's really loyal to the source material. But like I don't know. Did you watch episode 3 yet?
Is that the one with the dude from Parks and Rec?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That by far is the best. Like I think we talked about it where I
Did we?
cried.
Okay.
I cried like almost twice in that thing because that was such a good episode. I don't know if I was just tired or depressed or something, but that was really sad.
So, High Top wants to know, do you like the game or the show better? And you would be
Which
able to
one?
answer this more. Last of Us.
Oh, Last of Us. Ooh. I mean
Because you
definitely the
played
game.
both, right?
The game's on fire. I've played and beat both. I've tried Last of Us. I'm reading it, bro. I
He
I
just doesn't
tried
know there's a delay.
I tried The Last of Us. I haven't played The Last of Us on the PlayStation 5 yet. I'm definitely going to play it. But I'm kind of waiting it to get cheaper. Once it's on sale, I'll buy it and play it again. But I did play Last of Us 2. I played Last of Us, beat them, but I've only played them once. But when I played Last of Us, it was back on PS4, way long time ago. And then I think it was one of the PS Plus things, like you got it for free, the remastered. I played it, I tried it a little bit, I stopped playing it, and then I've tried it maybe a couple of years ago, and I just stopped playing. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna wait until they have 60 frames and all this kind of fun stuff. So now I'm just waiting for the PS5, and I'll play it again. But the game's absolutely it's incredible. It's not a I can't think of any better experience. It's just like I'm trying to think of what's Drake, what's all that
Oh,
Uncharted.
Uncharted, yeah.
It's like Uncharted, and it's just a series where like, and God of War is the same kind of way where it's, and even Tomb Raider and these games that are just large and like they're story driven and they're just big when I think of them. And by big I mean just I feel like you're in a room and you're just like in a castle and you're just looking
Yeah.
up and you just feel it's just breathtaking and it's experiences more than just playing a game. I mean, to be fair, Elden Ring was like that coming out of the, you come out of that cave initially. It's like it's an experience, like, and you
Yeah.
don't get that a lot. And
Well,
that's what it has me excited about the VR thing and having it on a big screen. Because I don't know, have you played on a big screen before, like a projector or something?
so I have a handful of times, mainly when I would do like LAN parties, or
Okay.
like events.
What'd
Like
you do? Like four? Would you do it in like four screens and you're playing
I've done
your
that
nerdy
before.
Minecraft or something?
So I've done like where you go. I was really young. My dad owned his own business, and he had like an employee or something that like kept inviting him over to play Halo or whatever. Because this is when Halo 1 was like huge, right?
Okay.
Halo 2 hadn't been out yet, right? So he kept inviting us over. We eventually go over, and he modded Xboxes, like a handful of Xboxes, had them all set up. And the way it worked is there was a giant TV in the middle, and then he had little CRT TVs on the side. So he had a total of 5 TVs because there was two, and then one giant TV. And basically, if you were top Slayer, then you got to play on the top TV with
How
like the
big was the
second
biggest
best.
TV you've ever played on?
I don't know what the dimensions were, but I mean this thing was huge. Like I
Are we
don't know,
talking 100 feet or 100 inches? Sorry.
something like probably like 80 something inches.
Okay.
I'm very bad at
I'm
dimensions.
telling, playing 160 inches.
That
I mean,
sounds
that's
insane.
big.
Yeah.
That's a big. It's another experience. It's like, if I can't imagine if you played in a movie theater or something, if they ever had those for video games, be able to have a LAN party in one of those, and like if they could just figure out how to like make it so it's not too big, or it's like a multiplayer game where everybody's kind of live in the same area, like a Minecraft or something like that. That would be incredible. But there's something special just about that experience, and playing a game like Uncharted, or like even Dead Space that I'm playing. These are those games, the story-driven games. Some people don't like them, but like where it's just you can experience it, and that's what I don't know. If you've never played on a projector, never played on a big screen, it's 100% worth attempting it. But I guess if you have the Quest, I mean, I'm assuming you can you hook it up and play like Steam
Yeah.
games on it?
So yeah, but that's where it causes that latency. So I have to be careful because if it's
Oh,
like an
that's weird.
actual action game, then I get very sick.
Okay, yeah, that would drive me
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Because like
Yeah, I've never
there's
gotten
something
sick. So
about
I
when
never
you're
got
like
sick.
playing 20 frames, ugh.
I played Skyrim. So Skyrim has a VR mod, or VR for the PSVR. And before I sold it, I had bought it for like $5. It was on sale, and I played Skyrim on it. And I had the same. It's freaking cool to like look up and see a dragon and all that stuff. But again, I had the same issue where it was just a little blurry, a little fuzzy,
Yep.
and I can't get over that. But I'm saying this: if whenever they figure out how to make it so that my PS5 screen on a 1080 can be somehow, with a 60 frames per second or something, can be put into a VR system, I easily would spend. I was thinking about this the other day. Easily spend $2,000 to $3,000 on that, just because you'd be able to experience something that you just can't do anywhere else.
All I want from like VR, and well, I say all I want like it's easy, but I just want like an MMO like in these in like these animes, like even the cheesy ones like Sword Art Online or like some of the more classic ones like Dot Hack or whatever. I just want
Yeah.
something where it's like you log in, you have a persistent set of skills. It's like a very advanced combat system based on like how you actually interact in VR, or whether it's like a dive software where like it connects to your brain, something like more advanced than what we have now. And then you could just even like what is that? They made a whole movie about it. It was a book, Ready Player One. Even if it was something like that, I would be super into it. I think a bunch of people would. So, but that's
I feel like
all I
it's
want
something
from
that
VR.
I feel like it's something they could do. I don't, even if it's in something silly, kind of like a Have you ever played? Do they have Minecraft on Quest?
I'm sure. I mean, I can't imagine they wouldn't.
It's freaking cool. Like, again, it's just to experience this stuff. I mean, I've played a lot of VR, PSVR games. Blood and Truth is incredible. I played Astrobot, which of course is a it's something that you don't experience very often. And I just remember Astrobot specifically, where you kind of like move your head and you look under something, and you can see behind something like a cave to then get a coin, and then you come back out, and it's just and even my kids, they loved Astrobot. They would put it on and they just play for hours. Like it's a great experience. But the sucky thing about the PSVR 2 is I just don't know if that stuff's gonna come out. And it's pretty freaking expensive, which is why I'm using the cinema as a way to kind of explain the cost of it, to say, okay, well, if there's not a ton of games, I mean, Village, to play Resident Evil Village in VR, I'm pretty excited about that opportunity, because Resident Evil 7 was pretty freaking cool, and if the graphics are just a little bit better, it's got to be amazing. But that cinema mode, it's basically like, hey, you're just upgrading your TV to just be a little bit bigger. And again, I could care less if it's 4K or 8K or whatever. To me, it's all the same. Just because I'm too far away from my TV to even tell in the first place.
Yeah, I would say even like creating like going back to like the retro games and all that stuff. Like even just having that option where it's an emulator, I think even justifies it within itself. Because if I'm like, I'm never gonna like go. Well, maybe not never, but it's so much hassle for me to like go into my storage crate, open up like like grab my GameCube or something and boot something up when I can just like emulate it. You know what I mean?
No,
And
I think that's cool. Yeah. I mean, I tried to do it with the deck, and I can't figure. I'm not tech savvy enough to do it. I spent like an hour the other weekend. I was like, hey, today my mission is to figure out how to emulate stuff. I already have all the apps. Like I have the native apps on the deck. I just can't figure out how to. I have the ROMs. I have all that stuff. I just can't figure out how to merge it onto the deck in a safe way, without downloading stuff that I don't want to download.
yeah, that's the tricky part with emulating in the first place too, because like it used to be really simple because it was very confined. It was almost like a community, right? Like you would
Yeah,
just like go on like Reddit or something, and be like, I need this, and then like all of a sudden it's like cool, dolphin.emu done, and it's like
yeah,
sweet,
yeah,
you know. And now it's like, oh, here's all these different like scams and like,
yeah.
oh,
And they're
it's
all just
yeah.
the legal stuff is so hard. I think they have to like move it every couple months, and
It,
it's too much work.
is
It's
it
too
a
much work,
legal
honestly.
gray area or is it illegal? Like, what is the verdict on emulation?
My understanding is it's different on. So I think there's a lot of different parts of it. I know if you own the game, you're allowed to have a copy, an electronic copy of the game through an emulator. But I also know that there's certain types of emulation games that you're allowed or not allowed to have. So just because I own, let's say, Chrono Trigger on Super Nintendo doesn't mean I can necessarily own it on the emulator, like a ROM for it, just because the version of it has to match the version that I have, if that makes sense. Like
Okay, I see
if
what you're
it's not a
saying
North
there.
American version and it's Japanese or something, or if it's a North American but it's not Series 1 and Series 2, it theoretically could be an illegal issue. Of course, Nintendo's not going to care about you doing that. But I also don't know about the system itself. That's where I get intrigued. Like, because now if you're using a PlayStation, let's say, how is that working? But my understanding, it's got to be legal in the sense of that stuff's open. That stuff's on Apple. That stuff's on all of these places as far as the system itself. Um, So it's I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. All I know is if
Yeah.
I own the game, I feel very comfortable with me not ever having to worry. I mean, again, I'm a nobody anyways, so I doubt they'd care. But even if they did care, I own pretty much every game in some capacity anyways. It's just at least the games I'm trying to play, like when I'm trying to emulate stuff. I mean, it's only a handful of games. I'm not trying to play everything. I'm just trying to play a handful of games.
I'm sure it boils down to like two things. Like, am I making money off of it? Right, is probably the first question. If the answer is no, then that's check mark number one, and so them not caring. And the number two is, am I costing them money? Right. Well, the answer is also probably no, because a lot of this stuff I'd have to get off the secondary market anyway. So if I'm costing anybody money, it's Joe Schmo that has, the Pokemon XD Gale Darkness game that I'm trying to buy for, $180 or whatever he's trying to sell it for.
Yeah.
So
Well, even a game like Chrono Trigger, it's like, I mean, there's so many different versions of it out there that, you can own it in different ways. So
yeah,
it,
yeah.
and again, it's whether is Square Enix going to be coming after you or is it Nintendo that's coming after you? Again, what would Nintendo care about? It would be Square Enix, and would Square Enix actually care? No, ain't
I don't
nobody
even
caring.
think like is Square Enix I'm assuming they're a publisher, or are they a developer and a publisher?
They're a developer, yeah.
They're okay. I would imagine the
I think they're both.
publisher would care more than even like the developer, for example.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that as well, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I
that's
guess
weird.
your point about commercial makes sense. Like, hey, if you're streaming it on Twitch and you got 20,000 people watching it, then they're probably going to care more than if you weren't, right?
Um, I think it also depends on age, right? Like if it's something that's 30 years old, there's no way they're gonna care, right?
You would
Unless it's
think, yeah.
like a new property they're pushing, or like a remaster they're pushing or something. But like, I mean, I'm trying to think of like Earthbound, right? Like if I'm just playing Earthbound on an emulator on Twitch, even to like 100,000 people, like throw it all the way up there, I highly doubt they'll care.
Yeah,
Highly
and,
doubt.
and I think they should have some sort of duty where they basically, like at some point, it doesn't exist because they haven't remade it or haven't published it in some other way. And Earthbound's a good example. Well, although I do think it's on the Switch Online. I think it's one of the Switch Online games. Um, but like Lufia, like because I'm an RPG guy back in the day. Lufia 2, Lufia, those are those games that I would crave to be playing on my deck while watching TV or something and just leveling up. And those are things where like nobody has recreated it in any legal way. And if it's been 30 years, like at some point it should be like, yo, y'all have some responsibility to remake this game, especially when it's got to be pretty easy to do it. If you're just basically, you're using the same graphics, same everything. If someone can emulate it pretty easily, why can't you just recreate it?
Yeah, yeah.
It seems
Like,
weird. You're just
I mean, you get backwards compatibility. I mean, the arguments go on and on where it's like we're almost at a point now. I don't know the logistics. I'm not a developer, but I'm assuming like if they wanted to monetize it, there's plenty of avenues to do so, and there's almost no excuse not to. You know what I mean?
sure, yeah.
So, but I mean, speaking of, I want to go back real quick to when you were like comparing Last of Us to Elden Ring. It's really funny. I was gonna bring this up where it's, to me, Last of Us is like almost like this perfect blend of like, hey, I have a narrative and a story that I want to tell, right? And I'm gonna fuse that with gameplay, and I'm gonna do it in like one of the best ways I've seen personally done. And yeah, I'm gonna sell you a package with that. Whereas like Elden Ring is almost the opposite, where it's like, hey, I'm gonna create almost like a D&D type scenario where you can make your own story and your own path, and you can tell that any way you want to. All I'm gonna do is give you enough tools to make it to where it's the path you want to make, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I just go back to what I'm saying is it's the same experience in the sense of that breathtaking, that like when you I'm trying to think of something like in real life, like when I okay, every time we went to the beach this weekend, and I'm one of those things that always like thanks whatever, all my gods and stuff for every like magical thing that happens, but whenever you go to the beach and you park and they have those big dunes and the hills and just like going up the dune and then you hit the top of it and you see that ocean, it's just breathtaking. Like I can't get sick of it. It's one of those things that I'm just a naive new person every time I look at it, and I'm just like, this is incredible. That this is the ocean and all, and this is water, and this is the moon, and it's all this and the gravity and how it just magically we're not all dead right now, or the water's not in the sky. It's just
It's
and the
like
sound of
physics,
it and
man.
the
They're
sight.
weird. Physics are
It,
weird, man.
it's weird, and it's just so. And I'm wearing the NASA shirt too, and it's just so like it's such an incredible experience. And even Elden Ring, a game that I wasn't, it's not completely made for me. The experience of it, and then freaking out because you touch a treasure box and takes you to this portal somewhere, and then you're just dying left and right, and you're screaming
The
and you're
treasure
trying to run
box
up.
of hell.
Yeah,
Yeah, takes
and
you
you're
to
trying to
Ohio.
run out, and it's just that experience that you just don't get with every game. And to be honest, Dead Space is kind of like that. Going back to that, it's sort of like it, just not on an A plus level. It's like an A minus B plus type of thing. But it's one of those experiences that that's what we love about video games, right?
What was the? What's a game that sticks out in your mind that really did that like sequence? Like you step out, and it's almost like a wow moment. Like exclude like Elden Ring. Like Elden Ring is like top of the class kind of thing. Exclude like even like Last of Us just because we talked about it. Like what is the game besides those two things where you kind of like step out on the world and you're like, holy shit. Excuse my French.
One Astrobot. So like going back to VR, Astrobot is 100% one of those games because it's just, especially me never doing real VR before, besides like putting back when you had the Galaxy and you just put it on your face and you're just doing a roller coaster and it just looks fake. Just Astrobot and the level building and how it just plays and how they just use all these different ways to kind of interact with the screen is an experience that will just have your jaw dropped the whole time. So I would say that top, and then for me, of course, it would be Final Fantasy VII, and that beginning where Aerith is walking down the street, and you hear the clicks of her feet, and it's doing the train and the like that part by far. I could play that part every day, and it's nostalgic too a little bit, just reminding me of my fun younger days, but. Absolutely, Final Fantasy VII and that part specifically, incredible.
I would say mine is my first like oh my god moment was when Fallout 3 when you walk out of the vault. I like because I've had moments like that in the games before, but it always felt very like sculptured. Fallout 3 was the first sandbox game that I played where I could really do and go anywhere. Because I remember walking out and then like being like blinded. And I was like, crap. So I found these tinted sunglasses and I put them on. I was like, cool, I feel better, right? I was my little 8th grade, 7th grade, 6th grade brain was like, oh my God, right? And then I remember walking out and I was like, well, I'm not going to go to the city. That's where they're going to expect me. I'm going to go out into the wilderness. And I walk and I got like flamethrower. And I was like, man, this game's perfect. This is everything I've ever wanted. So, but I remember.
Skyrim was like that too. Kind of like that.
Yeah. For a lot of people, it's Oblivion. Like a lot of my generation, because like it came out before Fallout 3, to be honest. So I think that's where a lot of it came in, because Oblivion just like it paved the way for a lot of things, and then Fallout 3 is just kind of like Oblivion with guns.
Yeah, Fallout 3 was good.
Yeah,
I'd say definitely better than 4, and 3 was a different type of game. I remember going to DC like near the end and like all that stuff. It was cool.
Yeah, Optimus Prime. Or not Optimus Prime, Liberty Prime. Liberty Prime.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Optimus Prime, if we're being honest, but Liberty Prime.
I'm trying to think what other experience. Like even on PS5 or PS4.
Well, I have like I have experiences in games too that shattered me to my core, especially at a very young age. You've played KOTOR, right?
Which one? Oh, yeah.
KOTOR, yeah. So, like, when you find it... Well, spoilers for a game that's over 20 years old, by the way, guys. So, if you don't want to hear the spoiler, just mute it for, like, the next, 30 seconds. But when you find out you're Revan, right? I was in 4th grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, somewhere around... I was super young, and I was like, I just played this whole game, and I was the bad guy? It was me, and meanwhile, I'm, like, force lightning everybody, right? Like, I'm clearly not a good guy, but whatever. I have more dark side force points because you're a child and you're like, I'm gonna steal things because it's easy. But it's like you're Revan, and then I had trust issues. I remember showing up to school the next day in a daze, and and everybody was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No." Absolutely not. I can't trust anyone. My mom was like, "Are you okay?" Like they legitimately were like, are you sure you're okay? Like I went to soccer practice and like I was in a daze and I wouldn't pass to anyone because I was like, I can't trust anyone. I can't trust myself. I'm revving. It like shattered me in my core. Was I overreacting? Absolutely. But it's cool that a game can have that effect.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I still can't honestly. I can't think of any like huge things kind of like that. I say Final Fantasy VII, the other one, and then there's just like interesting experiences, kind of like the Astrobot, where like even we were talking about the other game I played, the Telling Lies, like I was talking about that last time, where it's just an interesting experience that you don't play like it because honestly, when you play games, like every game is kind of like another game. You know, Kara always makes fun of me and basically says, "Hey, didn't you already play this?" And to be fair, it's usually because I'm playing the same game the fourth time after giving up after a couple hours. But like they all kind of are the same, right? It's just some of them make different spins. And so those ones that are kind of completely different, like the Telling Lies or like the Astrobot, or even like The Last of Us, where there's not a ton of games like that. It's just those are the experiences that treasure. You know, you talk about that I treasure. And
Yeah,
like
I
Final
mean,
Fantasy, I haven't had a Final Fantasy like seven, like that kind of experience since seven. And I can't even any RPG I'm trying to think of. I mean, 15 I played and beat, and then 11 and 10 and 9 and I mean 10 was good, but it wasn't like the end of the world like 7 was.
yeah, I've heard a lot of people just like so I never got into 7, but I hear a lot of people rave about 7 and I never played the remake or anything either, so like I don't know how good that is. I've seen scenes
Yeah,
from it,
remake.
like I saw like the B scene or whatever where he's
I,
like
I
dancing in
think
the
it goes
club,
back to
but
like when you started playing games, when you played games, like your time, because a lot of it's nostalgia. It's just nostalgia. It's just like that feeling. Oh yeah, that game was incredible. And then if you play the game now, you're like, you know, it's not the greatest. And it's probably like Fallout with you. Like you're playing Fallout at that time where, and it is a great game, but like just at that time, it's just a perfect time in your life to play. I mean, to me, eighth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, I
oh
mean, that's
yeah.
Final Fantasy VII for me. That was sixth grade. So it's like that perfect age where it's just you don't forget it.
I feel really fortunate, and I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but playing games without the internet being as big as it is now, because I feel like, and I think this is one of the reasons why Elden Ring did so well. But with the internet as it is now, you can go and you can look up anything, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And if I go and I play like Fallout 3 now, and I go like, all right, cool, what's the best way to like do something, right? Well, there's going to be 40,000 YouTube videos that show me exactly what to do, exactly
yeah,
how to do it. Whereas like back then, I had the physical walkthrough guide that was like about,
yeah.
I don't know, like probably 2 inches thick, an inch and a half
Yep.
thick, and it was fantastic because like it was like, okay, cool, I'm still discovering stuff, right? And I guess you can make that argument now for like YouTube or whatever, but like I'm like discovering like, okay, well, I know that I need to be in this area of the map for this thing, but I'm not gonna, I still gotta figure it out, right? It's not gonna, uh, hand me the reins or whatever. Whereas now it's like, okay, well, if I play Fallout 4 and I watch a streamer play while I play the whole parasocial thing, they're gonna tell me exactly where I need to go, what I need to do, and tying that into Elden Ring, I think Elden Ring like hit enough from people that new things were being discovered constantly. Like nobody had it figured out day one. Nobody had it figured out day two. No, there are people still discovering secrets now, and the
Yeah,
game's
that's
been
awesome.
out for God knows how long at this. Almost a year now, if not a year. I forget how. I think it's like almost a year now. Um, and I don't know. I'm just fortunate to grow up in that era where it was like, we
And I can
couldn't
definitely
rely
see
on the
that as a
internet.
plus. Yeah. Or like you know, because I recall like even Final Fantasy VII, that wasn't my copy that I played it. I borrowed it from a best friend, like from a friend at school, and I was able to play it. And we just there weren't a whole lot of people that had games. It's not like everybody had access to it. And I'd imagine now, you know, not everybody has a game, but they all have access to YouTube. So even if someone who doesn't play a lot of games watches a spoiler video on something, now they're telling you or talking to you about it. Whereas 20 years ago, you probably didn't have that because the other person wouldn't be watching YouTube. some random game video. Whereas now people do that. I mean, so, there are a lot of people nowadays, they watch games and they don't play it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the
And
thing is The Last of Us. I've never played The Last of Us because I didn't have a PlayStation. I
right,
watched PewDiePie play
yeah,
all
that's
of The Last
incredible.
of Us, and I feel like I've played it because I watched every single minute of it.
Yeah, that's incredible,
Yeah.
and that's got to be an interesting experience in itself to do it that way too.
It was cool because it was like watching a TV show. It really
Yeah,
was. And
and
I
it's a
think
great game to do something like. It's an evenly paced game too, where it's not like all action. It's like you have action for a little bit, you have story. You have action, story, action, story. Uncharted same way, which is what I honestly, Nori's saying she don't like these, but like that's what I like about those games. It's just that brief in and out, in and out. That's what she said type of thing.
yeah, I like when I like the unskippable moments of tension, right? Because like now everything like if you don't like something you can skip it, right? If I don't like the scene in a movie, well I'm probably watching it on Netflix and I can just skip right forward. I know that because I do it with movies all the time. I'm like,
Yep.
they're about to cut off his toe. Oh man, let me skip forward 10 seconds, right? I do that all the time. It's bad. But with like games like this, I can't do it, right? Which
Yep.
is kind of neat. It forces me to live that experience. So
And Yakuza was like that, where eventually I just stopped doing it. Like I stopped. Yeah, I'm a huge. Okay, so I'd agree that I don't think they should have the skip button, or you should be able to turn it off or something, because it just for it. Eventually, you're gonna do it, and
oh
then once
yeah.
you do it once, you're gonna just keep doing it. It's like a friggin' drug. And then at that point, you're just not into the game as much, and you're probably more often gonna kind of drop the game because of it, or you're not gonna follow the story. So yeah, I'd agree that they should kind of take that out if they can.
Yeah, it makes playing those games more rewarding than like even watching a movie though, right? So like Beyond Two Souls is another one of those like PlayStation story era
Yeah, great
games
game.
and
Yeah, I'm a huge
same
fan of
thing.
those. So Heavy Rain, all that stuff. I'm a huge fan of those type of games. It's just a fun, but I do like a little bit more action in it, where it's not like a Firewatch or like something where it's just too
It
much
can't all
story.
be story. Like
Yeah,
there needs to be a mechanic sprinkled in. Cuz I mean
yeah,
Nori brings up a good point. I don't have the attention span, right? Like a lot of people like if you want like the general populace to like play something like that, it needs to be like gameplay needs to be fused with the story. Like um I used to watch what was his name? Ego Raptor, I think his name was. It was like an animator on YouTube once upon a time. But he
uh,
would always go on these rants where it's like, why would I watch my character do something when instead the developer could just make it to where I do that thing instead, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
that's a really good take, honestly. So
Yeah, and you can get kind of get tired of it. Yeah, I get that too. As far as and to be fair, the story has to be good, right? So the worse
yeah.
the story is, the less attention I'm going to give it, and then you're eventually going to give up. So that happens a lot too.
Have you ever or what's a game you've played with like the worst story? Like just throw something under the bus right now.
Trying to think of well, there's stories that I don't care about. Like even when I played Chain of Echoes, like I played that. I was talking about that last time on Game Pass. It's an old school RPG, but it's a newer game. It's a great game. The combat, the elements, the UI, all that stuff. But the story, I have no freaking idea what's happening. I gave up. I gave up with it in probably 2 minutes. Like it was too deep, too crazy. I just couldn't do it. It's too many words. There is a difference between words and telling it that way, and then a video and kind of watching it. I think there's a difference there too.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, it's classic tropes, right? Where it's like, if I'm telling the audience something versus like making them come to that realization, one of those has a much bigger impact than the other, you know?
I don't know. That's why. Have you played Citizen Sleeper?
No, I've never even heard of that game.
Well, it's a Game Pass game, and it's on a lot of people's Game of the Year for last year. So
Oh,
it's definitely
really?
worth
Okay.
trying out. Yeah, I would definitely recommend trying it out. But it's a very story driven. Like it's definitely like one of those like you're trying to make a game on Unity, and this is like a high quality game that probably some three people made, using Unity or something. But it's too story driven. It goes kind of like what you're saying. Like it's just too much. There's too many words. I don't know what it is about word. Like I like to read too, but just gaming and words, it's just weird to me.
I
I'm
think if
trying to
it's
think of
done
like
right, it's fine. But I know what
what's
you're
a game
saying.
that you like? Let me ask that. What's a game you like that has a lot of words that you like?
Um, like just
Like
like a manuscript playing, or like what?
or anything, like any kind of game where there's just a lot of work. It could even be because like even like a Final Fantasy set, like, even any Final Fantasy game, there's a lot of talking, but there's also a ton of action.
I would say like this is probably a really bad example. I think it goes against what you're trying to say, but like Fallout New Vegas because like it's a
Yeah, I
little
don't
more
think there. I
story
think there's too much
involved.
action. There's story, but there's not that much. It's not like I don't know,
Yeah.
Civ or something like that. That's a lot more story driven than like word driven. I'm gonna use
The
the word word
problem
driven.
is I think I this probably feeds your point actually. I think I just delete those games. I
I
think
know,
I
I
uninstall
can
them.
imagine most people do, like normal people.
The thing I hate more than anything is a forced cutscene at the beginning of a game that doesn't mean anything. So I was playing Sons of the Forest, which is brand new by the way, and like the very beginning is
Wait, so you did play it?
yeah, I played it. It's okay. I'm like getting into it still. I played it with some friends. I think I've got like 3 hours on record or something. The building
Well,
system is different. Building system is really cool.
yeah, and I heard that you have an NPC, like you have someone that's playing with you if you play by yourself.
Yeah, so I'll get to that because this all ties in. So basically, you're in a helicopter. You're flying to an island. There's no like context or anything, and then you look at a laptop and there's three names. So like you can kind of put together like you're looking for these three people on this island or something, right? Whatever. And like they're supposedly the heads of the company you work for. But then like the helicopters crash, but in between that time you're just sitting in this helicopter. It takes entirely too long, or feels entirely too long, because nothing really is happening, nothing important. And he like rolls up his sleeve, and it just says "fight demons" like on his wrist, and it's like, why does that matter? Why do I care about any of these things? Maybe it ties in the story. I don't know. Um, but I hate it. So anyway, you crash, and then you wake up, and then your poor AI companion is bleeding out of both ears and is just deaf and dumb. Like he is just gone with this world. And you can write him notes. And then it's like, get logs. And he'll get logs. He'll do whatever you want because he doesn't have higher brain function anymore.
Hmm.
It's a little sadistic, but
I guess that's kind of hard to explain. Like, how do you have an NPC that's there but also talking without them wanting to kill you or run away or something, right?
yeah, I was gonna say it feels a little morbid, but we're also talking about a game with like mutant and cannibal
Yeah.
tribes, so maybe morbid is fine.
Which you can turn off. I don't know if you can turn it off, but I'm sure you've played The Forest, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things on there is you can turn off the bad guys. And so you
That
can basically
seems
play
weird.
it as a survival. You basically just play as a survivalist where you're just building and you're surviving, you're feeding yourself and all that stuff every day. I think the only bad guy I think you can keep on like you turn off the demons, but you can keep on the animals, or you can turn them both off.
See,
Um,
that seems weird to me. Like I know why they
yeah,
put it in because there's some people that just want to like build stuff and do things, but like, where's the longevity in that? Like why
yeah.
does somebody want to like keep doing that? Um, I don't know. So that's a little bit weird to me, but yeah, I don't know. I think the new game is interesting because they have a much bigger focus on exploration, I feel like, and it's a lot more like Metroidvania based on that exploration, meaning like
Kind of like
I
that.
I have to get something new and then come back to this area that maybe I previously found. We spawned in the snow area because you can spawn in different areas too, depending on where you crash land. That's like a whole thing. But we
That's what I
spawned.
liked about Ark. I felt like Ark was like that a little bit.
Ark is oh man, I could talk about Ark and like Conan and like those games all day long. Like any of those like survival I think they're called like survival MMOs that have PvP in them where it's like base
Yeah.
building PvP, like Rust is a really good example of that. I will play those games until I die. Like those games suck me in and I could play those forever. I those games are not healthy for me. I love them too much.
Yeah,
Um
I just never liked the PvP part.
See,
I like the
that's the best
PvE.
part
I
to
like the
me.
group PvE, like Division 2 type of like PvE only. I like that. and even Arc if it's PVE, because you could pick a server, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
I like that stuff, but I liked Arc. I mean, the 10, 20 hours that I played, I thought it was cool, and I liked the forest. I just didn't. I don't know why I didn't get into it. I think I bought it for like $5 on PlayStation. Um, I don't know what it was that I just didn't. I think it was I kept dying on the third day or something, and I just get frustrated and be like, I'm done.
Yeah, I still like Verdict's still out for me on Sons of the Forest. I don't know how much I enjoy it. I think it's like right now it's just a game I would play with friends to like kill time, which is not a great rating. Like
Yeah, it's not a good thing.
yeah, like out of 10 I'd probably give it like a 6 or a 7. Which is weird because everybody is raving about it and I'm just like I don't see it. I don't know. Seems like a shallow game to me, but I don't know. We did just find like this cool little bunker where you can like use a 3D printer to make stuff. So maybe that'll yeah really spice it up. Who knows?
That's the
But
type of thing you can just keep finding new stuff all the time.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's if it's anything like the first one, because the first one was like story-based exploration almost, where you're trying to like put together the pieces of the puzzle to find your son. I think this game's kind of like the same thing, where it's like I need to
Yeah.
find all these pieces of equipment so I can unlock new areas and like find the missing people. But I think it's gonna be kind of like the first one where you accomplish the thing, you win the game, and then that's it. Which is not a bad formula. It's just not captivating forever. You know what I mean? It's like hop in, hop out kind of thing. So I don't know. Verdict's still
Yeah.
out for me on it.
So I had a question too. So when I'm playing Dead Space, I got to a part where I played this specific part about 5 or 6 times and I kept dying. And I had to like reset each time. And it was maybe I'd lose 4 or 5 minutes of my life. It wasn't a huge deal, but it started adding up when I'm getting in my sixth time. And I knew these bad guys would come out and they'd come towards me. So what I would do is move all these like flammable objects into like a pile so everything's right next to me. And then when I would try to grab something, it wouldn't work, and then the monster would kill me because it's just kind of the game. So my question to you is how often, and this is probably none for you because of Elden Ring, but how often do you turn the difficulty level down? This was my first time in a very long time, maybe ever, where I just turned it to easy because I'm like, yo, I'm just trying to beat this game. Well, one, I want to play Ragnarok, but like two, I'm just trying to beat this game and just be over with it. And even then, I died once with on it on easy, but eventually I kind of got the rhythm and it's pretty simple now. But have you ever done that where you put it down for more than just like
Um,
one part?
kind of a weird answer to the question, but to me, it depends on do I feel like the issue is the game design because I love game theory and game design theory, or do I feel like it's an issue of me? Because if I feel like a segment's poorly designed, I'm just gonna do whatever I can to get through it, and I don't really care.
Yeah,
Or if it's like Skyrim, for example, and I'm like, I'm never gonna come back here to unlock this one lock that's master lockpick. I'm just gonna like phase through the wall, right? Because like I just don't care. And then I'll get like 5 gold out of it, and I'm like, yeah, see, I never would have came back here. Like I've never found anything good from lock picking, so I don't know. Um, I mean, outside of that, like typically no. Like with Elden Ring, you brought up a good point. I'm gonna like sit there for hours, and I'm gonna like perfect everything that I'm doing to beat this one thing.
yeah,
Uh, and I think that was drilled into me. Did you ever play? Well, you didn't have an Xbox, did you? Like the original?
I did. I just never got into it. I've owned, like I said, I think I've said it before, but I've owned pretty much every system since Super Nintendo.
Okay, this
I
is going to be
wasn't
very much a
able to
reach
that.
then. This is
But
very much a
I
reach.
read, but the Xbox, every time I've bought an Xbox, I've owned all three of them, and every time I play it for about a month, and then I've resold it within like a few months.
Well, I will say I did not like the Xbox One. I still own it. It's in my closet and I haven't touched it. I bought it for $400 with a bunch of games because a
Yeah,
friend of mine sold it to me. I haven't touched it. I've played Titanfall and Master Chief Collection and that's it. Maybe like 6 hours total for $400. Not a great
I remember
investment.
playing Morrowind. I think Morrowind was for that and Fable on the original Xbox, and it was just
Yeah.
something. I don't know what it was. It's just something different. Like I just couldn't do it.
I will say Fable 2 on the 360 was fantastic. Fable 3, I felt like it was way too short.
Yeah.
Fable 1, I tried to get into. It's weird. It's kind of like what you're saying. It's during that rough era of games where there was a lot of innovation, a lot of rough gameplay.
Yeah, maybe
Nobody
that
really
was it.
figured out what people wanted.
It's the blockiness. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But so this is definitely a reach. But did you ever play Shrek 2?
Definitely have not played Shrek 2 now.
So there was a I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about, but I remember this distinctly. They had a rhythm battle against Puss in Boots, and you had to like it's kind of like Dance Dance Revolution where you have to hit the right button, right?
Okay.
So it would be like A or X at the exact right time. And this drove me nuts because it was slightly off cadence. Like I have terrible rhythm as it is, right? I'm not a musically inclined individual, but this specific segment was slightly off when it was like on the button. So like if I were to hit it while it's in the circle perfectly, it would not count. So I spent probably 5 days out of my summer, like I'm talking like dawn up to dawn down, or dawn to dusk, not dawn up, dawn down, dawn to dusk, just cramming this game to figure it out. So at a young age, I just kind of lost my sanity when it comes to losing, and I think I just like barrel through it.
Dude, I couldn't have that patience, man. That's crazy. I know there's a Final Fantasy. It's either 3 or 6 or one of those for the Super Nintendo, where there's a part in the first few hours where you get to and this is like one of the best, supposedly one of the best Final Fantasies. And I've never played more than a couple hours of it because there's a part in the beginning where you get to a mountaintop and you play this bad guy, and you have to use a code to kind of put him asleep or something. It's like one of the guys' move, but the move is based on input. So basically, kind of like
Ooh,
what you're saying,
yeah.
it's like a rhythm. You have to go up, down, left, right, up, down, A, B, left, right. And something happened where I don't know if it was my controller or like the game cartridge or just something, but I replayed it probably an hour, and then I die and I'd have to restart and I'd restart and restart and restart, and I just can never do it. And it's just weird because I don't get to experience probably one of the greatest Final Fantasy games out there. And it's one of those definitely that I've added to my list of like, hey, this is what I wanted to emulate to try again. And I own it. So it's like one of those I need to just try again and just see if I can, but a different version of it to see if I have a better chance of success.
Dude, Final Fantasy has this thing, like, just speaking of Final Fantasy real quick, where, like, the side games involved in Final Fantasy, like, I played 10 a lot, and playing, what is it,
Yeah, Blitzball is incredible.
Blitzball, yeah, yeah. I just played Blitzball for God knows how many days of my life.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, if we want to run a Blitzball tournament, I'm your man. I'll sign up in a heartbeat, but
I feel like if they redid something like that, I've always thought about why they haven't created a game where it's all the side games. Basically, like
you would
they could
think
do an
that's an
online
easy
game.
seller.
They could do an online game where and you have to pay money for tokens or something to play these games, like the Chocobo Racing and Blitzball. They could make real teams, and they could have people from all over the world. Like I think they would have a lot of people
Well,
who would
even
do
if it
that
was
stuff.
just like a stupid like rec room idea, right? Or Wii
Oh yeah.
Sports, like just one of those things, like sell it for $20. Like you've got everything made, right? Or you maybe just have to do like retextures and like, well,
I think people would pay a lot more. You put the card games in there and all that stuff in there too.
oh
Like,
yeah, yeah.
and if you, I think they could make a ton. Like even the card games, and they charge per pack, or like they could transaction the crap out of that game.
You're saying like if they made like Triple Triad from
Yeah,
14
yeah,
or
and they
whatever,
made all
yeah.
of them, all the side games they've ever had for all of them. Kind of like what they did with the Theater Rhythm game that I talked about last week, where they basically put all the music into a game, and they just throw little buttons that you're pushing with the music, and then they put music videos of just gameplay in the background. It's freaking cool. What if you did the same thing? And I don't know if you'd upgrade the graphics or not. Maybe you just keep the old graphics, so it kind of has that nostalgic feeling. And then you just make online games, and you do leaderboards and competitions with prizes and stuff. Oh, I think that would be massively huge.
So I think you should play the MMO. I think you should play 14 because they have
And
that
they have that?
for Triple Triad. Yeah,
Oh, do they? Okay. Well,
yeah.
then that's an example of where it could be huge, right? Like I'm sure there's plenty of people playing it there.
You know what? If they just put Blitzball in the MMO, it would be. I don't know how they would spin it in because I think there's like vastly different time periods. But you do that, and I can't even imagine how many people would just get into it for that point. And like they would probably have to level up to a certain point to get there anyway. It would be like a new
Yeah.
expansion. I could see that being insanely profitable. But to be fair, Final Fantasy 14 has no issues right now being profitable. I mean, they had
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
huge boom like 2 years ago, and they
for
are
sure.
just cruising right now. So
It could be one of those kind of reset moments, like if they ever start to do kind of not so well or something like that.
yeah, it's probably like keep it in the back pocket. It's like what Blizzard did with Hearthstone, where they were like, yeah, we have all these like new class ideas, but we're gonna wait for the game to start dying
Yeah,
before
that's
we even
genius.
implement them, which is smart. I mean, it's how you keep a game alive, especially games like that. So.
Yeah. I got like 2 more minutes in me.
I think we should just call it. We're a little bit.
Are we
We're
good?
actually way over time. Yeah.
All right, awesome.
So, all right. Well, I'll catch you next week
Love
here
it.
on
Good talk.
Castaway Gamers Podcast, and don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. If you guys have any recommendations for the icebreaker, if you guys want to, ask us what we want to have on a desert island, just leave it in the comments. We're gonna pull those every week. So, all right, James, giving.